I just sort of did it almost the exact same way I killed the rabbit when I ate it. I mean, I cut his throat too. And she motions a slicing motion. There is a man laying unconscious in his living room. Alyssa and Vanessa are standing over him. Alyssa believes this is what this man deserves. This is the only way. They have to kill him or else. Vanessa, on the other hand, she does not want to do this. She watches as Alyssa grabs a knife and plunges it into the man's neck, stabbing him so deeply. It's over now. They're gonna be safe. The police would later report the victim to be Harold Sasko, and the killer to not be Vanessa, to not be Alyssa, but a single 19-year-old teenage girl named Sarah McLynn. This is the story of Sarah McLynn and how she violently murdered a man and was diagnosed with DID. And a lot of people believe that she should be free. She had a habit of stealing her dad's keys before he went to work. This is when she's a kid. Sarah's dad was almost always running late because of Sarah, which is kind of cute at first, but over time, it's just very inconvenient. But now that Sarah's older, both of Sarah's parents, they're divorced, and she no longer lives in the family home. But they just think of that moment. When they're asked, what do you remember most about Sarah's childhood? They would both respond, oh, she used to do this thing where she would hide her dad's keys. She's like daddy's little girl.
So both mom and dad is sharing this story, saying how much Sarah loved her dad.
To Sarah's psychologist.
Oh, okay.
And Sarah's psychologist was like, okay, that's very interesting because I feel like Sarah has a lot of complex feelings about her parents. And Sarah clearly remembers things very differently. As a child, Sarah actually had a lot of interesting habits. She didn't like wearing shoes. She likes to play outside. And most unique and potentially alarming one is she had this habit where she would run outside to play with her friends. And she would come back home and everyone was like, what are you doing? Where did the rest of your clothes go? She would just come back home in nothing but her underwear.
What?
And nobody looked into it. DID, dissociative identity disorder, can loosely be defined as a disruption in one's identity by the existence of two or more distinct identity states in an individual. It's generally agreed upon in the scientific community that DID is typically formed during childhood as a protective mechanism against trauma. And she really, really, really hated their next door neighbor. I think everyone in the neighborhood hated this guy, despised this guy. He's old, he's crabby, he has dementia, and he would do this thing where he would just shoot squirrels with BB guns. They keep an eye out for him, and he keeps an eye out for little Sarah. Allegedly, he would make Sarah watch him shoot a squirrel with a BB gun, walk over, grab that squirrel, still half alive, and skin the squirrel alive using a knife. He would scream at her, if you try to run or if you look away, this is going to be you next. And when he's done killing a squirrel in front of her, he would hold Sarah down, shove the squirrel in her face, and molest her. It's stated that he essayed her orally and digitally, and then he fully essayed her by inserting gardening tools into her. Later, Sarah's psychologist would ask, when did the neighbor assault you? At night, in the mornings, before school, after? Sarah responded, anytime my dad wasn't home. So that's why she hid his keys in hopes that he would stay home. Sarah's psychologist firmly believes this is the childhood trauma that Sarah's brain could not handle and protected her by creating new alters. Police are called to do a welfare check on a 19-year-old girl named Sarah McLynn. They show up at the house in question that she's apparently staying at. It's not her mom's house, it's not her dad's house, it's not even a relative's house. It's just a small little suburban house in Kansas. The police initially tried knocking on the front door, nothing. But the police forced their way into the home, through the door, through the kitchen, they kick it in, and they step right into the house and they're like, we were right. The whole place is ransacked. But two things would stand out the most. On the wall, written in big red letters, is a word. And right underneath that is a dead man, laying in a pool of his own. The police look at the man, then they look at the words on the wall, and they realize that the words on the wall were written using this man's. And the words read, and it's kind of hard, FREEDOM, freedom. The most popular item at Cece's Pizzas, it was one of the only places in the entire town that would hire 15-year-olds and give them a part-time job after school. And on top of that, the owner, Harold Sasko, could just see from a mile away that Sarah McLynn is hurting. She's got scars on her arms, on her wrists that are in various stages of healing. She just seems lonely, like she doesn't have anyone. I can help you get on your feet. I can see that you're really struggling. And when you're ready, I can help you get your life together. I can help you learn how to run a business, kind of like a dad or a mentor, like a father figure. You can even move in with me. Harold has been divorced 4 or 5 times. Right now he lives alone. He's got a spare room she could use. It's completely up to her.
How old is she at this point?
17.
Okay, and he's 33 years older, so he's 50?
Yes.
Okay. He was going to show me how to run businesses so I could eventually run a business of my own. I really looked at him as a mentor. Like, I looked up to him. Like, none of my family had businesses or anything like that. Like, I just admired that, and I wanted to learn from that.
She does not know that her new mentor, Harold, has downloaded hundreds of videos of violent, explicit content onto his phone and visits X-rated websites that feature children, teens, and at least 20 times he visited a website that featured men fondling or having intimate relations with women that appear to be asleep. Sarah did not know this at the time. Instead, she had his name saved on her phone under the contact Dad. According to Sarah, right after moving in, Harold was supplying her and giving her unrestricted access to whatever she wanted. 1 month into Sarah's move into Harold's house, Sarah shows up with a whole brand new nose. She got a nose job. Sarah's sister, Ashley, is kind of confused. Maybe because a nose job is like $6,000. How on earth did you pay for it? And Sarah tells her sister, well, Harold told me that if I feel insecure, he can help me not feel insecure. I'm gonna pay him back though. Ashley knows that her sister Sarah is moving in with her boss Harold. She thinks, yeah, it's weird, it's strange, but maybe it's for the best. The two of them, Sarah and Ashley, they never really grew up with strong parental figures. Maybe this is what Sarah needs. But there are weird things, like the fact that ever since Sarah moved in with Harold, she's had her nose job, but also implants. And Sarah can't stop talking about the end of the world, political annihilation through war. Like, she's becoming a doomsday prepper. Sarah grew up in this really dysfunctional family. I mean, obviously, so did Ashley. She's got Ashley, then it's Sarah, and then they have 3 younger brothers, all of whom were adopted. And according to Sarah, when they were no longer cute, her mom just decides the phase is over, decides she doesn't really want to be a mom anymore, leaving both Ashley and Sarah responsible for the care of the boys, and it's obviously not easy. Sarah's dad is described by Sarah as being, quote, very emotional. She said he's very depressed and has a very weak personality that lets both of his wives control him. She also thinks that he has an alcohol problem. He would constantly be out till 5 in the morning, then they divorced. Sarah's only 15 when it happened. It's rough. There's nonstop fighting in the house. Both parents get new partners and the kids feel even more abandoned. When Ashley meets Harold, he seems nice enough, except Harold mentions to Ashley that her daughter, Ashley has a daughter, so this is Sarah's niece, Sarah's very young niece, is more than welcome to stay at his house if Ashley ever needs to get away and get some time alone. Ashley goes to their mom and tells her, look, we got to do something about Sarah. Sarah's not in a good situation right now. She needs help. But their mom would more or less tell her, shh, we can pray for her. One day, Sarah is sitting on the couch with Harold, and she's got him in her phone contacts as Dad. And he tells her, I have feelings for you. I want to go on a date with you. Which is the last thing Sarah would ever want. She genuinely sees him as a dad. But ever since that conversation, things start changing around this house. When Sarah's sitting there watching TV, he would come up behind her, sit really close to her, put his arms around her, and she could see or feel that he's getting According to Sarah, he starts essaying her. He threatens to kick her out of the house if she does not comply. She said that she felt she had no choice. Sarah would later state for 10 months, the essays would continue to escalate in Harold's house. She states she would be essayed by Harold over 100 times. He would follow her around and tell her, men aren't going to find you attractive because your breasts aren't big enough and you're not big enough. Harold starts writing up lists of all the money that Sarah owes him. Money for rent, $6,000 for the nose job, $10,000 for implants, which, side note, we're not even going into the psychology of forced body modification. After Sarah's implants, she is in so much pain physically and mentally. She's laying on the couch. She doesn't feel like this is her body. She has a loss of body autonomy. And I think visually it's very scarring to see her body in a way that she does not like and does not want. All she wants to do is lay on the couch, get of prescription pain meds, and she just spends months laying there, depressed. She said all she could do was drink and think about how much she hates herself and how much she hates everybody and how much she hates Harold and how much, honestly, she hates being essayed, which she claimed happened even while she's depressed on the couch, while she's laying there. She said she started having these very strange symptoms, stomach distress, daily headaches, and this bizarre tingling sensation in her fingertips. And she thought it was so strange because her fingers wouldn't stop tingling. And she starts feeling like, wait, am I being poisoned right now? I feel like I'm being poisoned. Either Harold is poisoning my food or this house is poisoned. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to feel this weird. Which means Harold must be trying to kill her, right? So she has to kill him first before he kills her. She starts Googling rapid fire. Why am I different than anybody else? Why do I see things like this? Why am I always different at night than when I am in the morning? Sarah wouldn't know until later that she's diagnosed with DID. Now, her alters are, she has 4 that we know of, that her psychologist knows of, and this is her psychologist explaining. Vanessa is very depressed, anxious, and described as very weak, has a lot of dark thoughts about wanting to self-exit. She's immature, maybe 17 years old. She's the one that is fronting most of the time. This is Sarah's state most of the time.
Wow.
Alyssa is the protector. Alyssa came about to protect Vanessa. Alyssa drinks a lot. She never panics. She's very strong, very witty. People really like her. She's confident, but not reliable. She is boiling with rage. She has so much anger, but she doesn't want to let that anger go because she deep down believes that's where her strength comes from, is this anger. She mainly fronts when the body is numb. So that might be why Sarah was Googling, why am I different at night? It seems that Alyssa fronts more at night because she's drinking, she's getting more of that rage is coming in. Alyssa hated everything about men and felt Harold was worse than a pig, more offensive than a pig. The other alters consist, that we know of Mila and No Name. However, as Sarah's doctor, she was not allowed to talk to them much. We have very limited information about them. We just know that Mila is tiny bit more confident than Vanessa, but she's very feminine and quite young. I'm not sure if she's considered a little, which is a type of alter. I don't know if it's type, but categorization of alter. And typically it embodies a childhood version of the person. Now, No Name is the trauma carrier. The memories of the essay from the creepy old neighbor only come about when No Name is fronting.
No name?
Yes, literally.
No name.
No Name. This is the only alter in the system that carries memories before middle school. And Sarah is dead. She died at 16 years old. There was only one rule the entire system was forced to follow. The rule was, don't let anyone know. Nobody was allowed to know that Sarah had a system, which means nobody knows there is what is described as inner conflict taking place. Vanessa and Alyssa have a conflict at hand. Vanessa has decided the only way to escape this life and this abuse is to either kill Harold or to self-exit. Vanessa wants to self-exit soon. Alyssa realizes that is what Vanessa is planning, and she's not going to let that happen. This is how Sarah's doctor explains it. Alyssa was angry. She would later tell her doctor that had Vanessa been smarter, none of this would have happened. Alyssa told the psychologist, Vanessa's weak. She would lay there like a dead dog, and she let him touch us. Sarah's doctor believes Alyssa was forced to protect them or let Vanessa self-exit because she could not handle the abuse from Harold. Around this time, a coworker from Cece's Pizza had come over to Sarah and Harold's house, and he's friends with Harold. He walks over to the dining room and there's this box sitting on the table. It's a cardboard box that's closed. And every now and then the box would start shaking. The box would start moving, shuffling. He's like, what is going on in that box? Sarah walks over, opens up the box. Inside, there's a little fluffy rabbit. Oh, what are you guys gonna clean it and cook it? He watches Sarah bring the box over to the kitchen sink. He can see her taking the rabbit out, placing it into the deep sink, but he's behind her at this point, so he can't really see what she's doing to the rabbit, but he hears high-pitched yelps coming from the rabbit, and Sarah's body is like an autopilot. just nothing behind the eyes. And to him, this is all so confusing. Why is she doing this? Later, Sarah would state at the time she believed it was a normal survival skill practice. She was practicing for the end of the world. Those who knew Sarah said, none of this makes sense. Sarah's always been an animal girl. Text comes in to Sarah's phone. Not a response from Ashley, but a text from Harold. It reads, "Hey, good morning. Thank you for last night. It was good. We never got to talk about Sunday. I apologize for trying to sleep with you. Tonight before we get going, can we talk? Please and thank you." Then ding, she gets another message. Harold wants her to put some beers in the fridge for tonight when he gets home. Beers in the fridge. According to Sarah, he would always essay her when he's... Harold had Ambien in his bathroom. Sarah knows this. She sneaks into his room before he gets home and goes into the bathroom, pulls out a bottle of Ambien, and she starts grinding up a handful of pills using one of those glass figurines on top of the dresser. She puts the powder into a piece of paper, folds it up, hides it in the kitchen under a box of green tea on top of the microwave. Then she just waits. She dumps it in to the can and watches him gulp it down. And eventually he gets up from the couch to walk over to his speaker system to fix it. Halfway there, collapses, falls onto the ground, face down onto the floor. Sarah's calm. She walks to her car, grabs a stack of zip ties, brings them back in, and then walks into her room to grab a hunting knife. She stands over his limp body for a second. Then she starts tying his legs together, 3 around his ankles, locking them together, and as she's about to zip tie his wrist, he makes some sort of moaning sound. Some people say this is so important. Moaning could be that he's unconscious, but also could trigger...
Yeah.
It could be a trauma. Sarah later tells her doctor that something in that moaning sound, all of this up until this point was Alyssa, but when Harold moans, Vanessa steps back into control, screams no, grabs a pair of scissors, and cuts the ties off of Harold's ankles to release him, to let him go. But Alyssa does not want this. Alyssa would later tell the doctor, I was not going to let her do that. She gains control and reties his hands and his ankles, takes the knife before Vanessa can do anything about it. She reaches her hand down to feel for an artery. She needs to find the vulnerable spot on the neck, and when she finds what she's looking for, she takes both of her hands and plunges the knife straight into his throat. So she grabs a towel drenched in his and writes FREEDOM. Freedom. Then she goes to wash off from her hands, and the first thing she does, which is very questionable, is she grabs her Samsung tablet, brings it into the bathroom, where she proceeds to put on some music and start showering. When she's done, she gets out, dries her hair, straightens her hair, and then gathers up all the things she wants to take with her. And she just starts skipping town. Oh, she does leave one thing, though. She leaves her phone on the kitchen counter because she knew that she could be traced through it. And she will be arrested 11 days later by the National Park Service in the Everglades National Park in Florida. The police had been called to do a welfare check on Sarah, broke into Harold's house, found him dead. Sarah is sitting cross-legged at the table across 2 interrogators. They ask her, Sarah, how long have you had planned to kill Hal? It was sort of just in like the last week where, well, not just in the last week. It's like last 5 days I really thought about it. So would you say that you started making preparations about 5 days before? Well, I had everything that I needed, so I didn't have to like go out. And I just sort of did it almost the exact same way I killed the rabbit when I ate it. I mean, I cut his throat too. I thought that he would faster that way and I wouldn't have to be as strong to really like slice his neck. And she motions a slicing motion. One of the interrogators actually gets up and puts his head down on the table facing Sarah and forces her to motion how she stabbed Harold in the neck. Then I went and I took a shower. Sarah said she also didn't like her job. She owed money. She hated her life. She felt trapped and she was curious. She said she was curious about killing someone. Now, there are 3 groups of people. One group of people that believe that Harold is purely a victim and what he did or didn't do does not matter, and Sarah is the ultimate perpetrator. Then you have another group of people that believe Sarah shouldn't have done what she did, but she essentially killed from a buildup of trauma and almost as a mechanism of self-defense, that she is a victim and a perpetrator, and that Harold is also a victim and a perpetrator. Then you have another group of people that just hates the both of them. They think that both of them are just evil for whatever reason. Harold's ex-girlfriend said he told her that he was just trying to get Sarah away from and away from friends who were in gangs. He was always involved with his employees. He wanted to have a mentoring program for the youth. He has a good heart, a good soul, and he cared about helping a lot of people. Harold's brother said, "From what I know of Harold, there's no question that his purpose with Sarah was to be a father figure to her. My honest opinion was the defense was just grasping at straws and making up stories." But then you have a group of people, including a lot of advocates for domestic violence in SA. They do not condone what she did. They said murder is bad. Nobody condones that. However, they don't think that she's this crazed, evil killer that just wants to kill Harold for curiosity. Some also argue that Sarah's bizarre sudden interest in harming animals is linked to her essay as a child. It's her taking control. The rage and wanting to feel that sense of control go hand in hand. Her psychologist believes that the foundation for her subsequent obsessions for dead animals, knives, and everything is then. But the most important evidence for the group is most conversations about Harold allegedly grooming Sarah were not allowed in the trial.
Why?
The judge is very questionable decision, questioned by a lot of people, but the judge stated any character flaws that Harold might have had will not be discussed in front of the jury. The judge stated that Harold was not on trial, Sarah was. But probably the most worrisome testimony that was not allowed in court was the day after Harold's body was found, a single mom of 2 twin girls, underage, 16. She goes to the police, and the mom does let the detectives know that Harold, the man they just found dead, she believes he was in the process of grooming her twin girls. Now, with all of this, Sarah pled not guilty by reason of insanity. Her psychologist diagnosed her with high levels of depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. Her psychological profile reads as follows: likely to be generally pessimistic and dysphoric, has the potential to act out her anger in impulsive ways, self-destructive in spending, in substance abuse, rapid mood swings. She often feels her behavior is out of her control, is likely to act out self-exit plans, limited social skills, has difficulty interpreting the nuances of social relationships. In relationships, she likely takes a very passive, submissive role and very uncomfortable around people. Her clinical symptoms include weekly episodes of amnesia, daily episodes of losing time, unable to remember her home address, depersonalization, not recognizing self in mirror, feeling like an observer of self on a daily basis. Sarah was found guilty. She was sentenced to a hard 50 sentence, meaning she will have to serve at least 50 years before the chance of parole. So she could technically be there for the rest of her life. She will be 70 years old by then. Sarah's mom is rebuilding her relationship with Sarah in prison. The saddest part of all of this is Sarah had told her mom the first feeling that she had when she went to prison was, at least it kind of feels safe. She would write letters to God trying to process her shame. Sarah is very remorseful for her crime, and she works with a program called Pooches and Pals that helps train dogs for people with physical or visual impairments. Basically, she helps train service dogs. She said, "I will say that these dogs healed me in a way that I didn't even know I needed healing. They're just amazing." Mental health professionals believe Sarah is very capable of living and maintaining a crime-free and productive life. But her potential release date, as of right now, is February 1st, 2039. But that's if she makes parole, which she could very well be denied.